talk about bases, what to spray your Createx on. You know, you don't want to spray it on raw plastic. At the very least, you would need to wet sand the plastic to give it some kind of tooth. And with even that, I would highly recommend using a primer. Important thing to know about these paints is they have no high solvent. They don't have any lacquer or whatever in them to help bite into plastic. If you spray it onto just a raw, shiny plastic, highly polished, you're gonna be very disappointed down the road as you're handling the model and working on it, or trying to mask it and things like that. Chances are it's going to ruin your day. So you really do need a base coat to spray these onto. You can spray these paints over anything. You know, whatever you're spraying on, even if it be enamel, just a straight up enamel paint job with no clear, you would want to wet sand that paint job a little bit, just to give it to get rid of that slick shine. That's going to help you a lot in the long run. And I'm going to show this, so I'll go over these finer details as I go along, but you can go over anything with these colors. It does not react with anything. Enamels, lacquers, acrylic lacquer, acrylic enamel, urethanes, other acrylics, different bases, duplicolor chrome, Krylon, primers. Got here some auto air. This is a aluminum base, which is a coarse flake. This is a medium flake auto air aluminum base if you're wanting to get a metallic effect. And again, and I mentioned this before, but the pearl silver is a great base. It has iridescence and it's a very, very fine flake look to it. You can spray over any of these. You don't never have to worry about compatibility when you're using Createx paints, because they can be sprayed over anything. There is no paint that I'm aware of, or any surface, that these paints react with. And I have not found a clear coat that reacts in a bad way with Createx paints, because they're docile. They have no solvent. They don't really shrink. They don't do anything. They're just there, you know. So any clear works over these paints that I've used so far, and I've tried several different brands and types. Thinners for Createx. One of the products I use and have used for years and have found to work great is the airbrush medium. This is an acrylic airbrush medium from Liquitex. There's probably 6 or 7 different companies that make acrylic airbrush medium. Very thin. It contains a flow aid. It contains binder, and it contains all these things that you have to retain in this paint to keep it from breaking, from becoming runny, becoming just an evil thing that you're spraying that's going to ruin your day. Now Createx has their own, they call it illustration base now. Basically it's this, or a version of it, and it's probably a little more refined and, you know, made to work with their colors a little better. It's not cheap. Future floor finish. Well, it's a clear, or fairly clear, I should say, acrylic. So adding this to your paint is not going to break your paint, you know. Adding anything else, Windex, water, alcohol, any of that kind of stuff, I mean, it will just destroy the stuff. It will spray nice and beautiful, and you think, oh man, this is awesome. I just added some alcohol because that's what they do with this brand and blah blah blah. This is not the same brand as your model paints. This is not your average model paint. The closest paint to this is Vallejo, and their thinner looks like this, okay? It's not alcohol, it's not ammonia, it's not anything like that. And it's extremely important, because you cannot thin this paint any more than you have to. It loses so many properties when you thin it with something that it's not meant to be thinned with. You know, the exception is Pledge with Future. Now, a couple things to say about this. Createx paints go on flat. All their colors are flat when they dry, or near flat. A flat base of color, when you add a clear, a good quality clear over the top of it, the color will pop, and as the light shines through the clear and hits that flat surface, it diffracts the light in all different directions, and it makes that paint just vibrant and pop. If you watch graphic artists, guys that do motorcycles and cars, when they're spraying graphics with acrylic, it is flat. Is when you hit it with that clear, it just explodes with color. That flat is desirable. That is a desirable trait. Now, as far as the future, it will make it more glossy. I wouldn't rely on the future and put so much in it that you're trying to make a super gloss coat paint, because you're going to be thinning the color. You're going to be going too far with it. I mean, it's more, this is strictly to thin where you're getting a good spray, from your airbrush to get it down to that consistency. It won't break the paint. You can still spray well. It's sticky. It sprays good. It has a flow to it. This stuff obviously has a great flow. So this is like a magic made in heaven, is Future and Createx. You're able to increase the flow. You're able to thin it quite a bit. You can thin it a lot more than you can with these. That's an alteration from my previous videos. I did mention Future in my other video, but I've gone a little more into it, and I'm becoming a bigger and bigger proponent of using Future, because it just is, it's because of the clarity of the stuff. It does allow you to do a little more and mix colors and things and not affect them as much as using the acrylic mediums, which you can only add so much of this stuff. There's a limit. So you want to start spraying really thin and doing some really good effects and putting down a thin coat. Future would really make a difference.